The appendix. The appendix is one of those body parts that people love to joke about because it seems pointless. A tiny worm-shaped pouch dangling off the large intestine that most people only notice when it becomes inflamed. For a long time, doctors and scientists labeled it a vestigial organ, meaning an evolutionary leftover that had lost its original purpose. In early humans and other primates that ate mostly leaves and fibrous plants, the appendix may have played a role in digestion by hosting bacteria that helped break down tough cellulose. As human diets shifted towards softer, cooked foods and more meat, the need for that kind of digestion faded, but the appendix didn't disappear completely. Modern research shows that it actually has a subtle but important role in the immune system. The inner lining of the appendix contains high concentrations of lymphoid tissue, which produces white blood cells and supports gut immunity. It also serves as a safe reservoir for beneficial bacteria, especially after intestinal infections that flush out the gut. When that happens, the bacteria living in the appendix can recolonize the intestines and help restore balance to the microbiome. This function could explain why removing the appendix slightly increases the risk of certain infections or digestive disorders. What makes the appendix even more fascinating is how widespread it is in mammals. Rabbits, wombats, and many primates have one suggesting it has evolved independently multiple times. That means it's not just a useless leftover, but something that natural selection found worth keeping. Still, it's also a biological risk. Appendicitis, when the appendix becomes blocked and inflamed, can turn life-threatening if untreated, and that's why it's often removed. So while the appendix may not be vital to survival, calling it useless is unfair. It's a small hidden ally that quietly supports your immune system and gut health, a relic of evolution that still finds a way to contribute in the modern human body. Goosebumps. Goosebumps are one of the strangest automatic reactions our bodies have. Tiny bumps that rise on the skin when we feel cold, scared, or overwhelmed. The effect happens because of microscopic muscles called erector pili attached to the base of each hair follicle. When they contract, they pull the hair upright, creating the familiar prickly texture. In humans, with our relatively thin layer of body hair, the reaction doesn't do much besides make us notice it. But in our ancestors and in many animals today, it served two important purposes: heat conservation and intimidation. In mammals covered in fur, raising the hair traps a layer of warm air close to the skin, creating insulation when the body temperature drops. The same reflex occurs in moments of fear or aggression. When an animal's fur stands on end to make it look larger and more threatening, humans kept the reflex even as we lost most of our body hair, leaving goosebumps as a visible trace of that older survival mechanism. The reaction is controlled by the sympathetic nervous system, which also triggers the fight or flight response, explaining why goosebumps appear during intense emotions, not just temperature changes. Music that moves us, powerful memories, or moments of awe can activate the same nerve pathways, causing the skin to react in what scientists call frisson, a physical shiver of emotional stimulation. Interestingly, recent research has shown that the same cells involved in producing goosebumps also help regulate hair follicle stem cells, suggesting this reflex may still play a small biological role in maintaining hair growth. Even though goosebumps don't protect us from the cold anymore, they connect us to a deeper layer of our evolutionary past, when standing hair could mean the difference between staying warm or scaring off a predator. Every time your skin tingles with that familiar sensation, it's not just a random reaction, it's an ancient alarm system, firing from the oldest wiring in your body, a reflex older than language and shared with almost every mammal on Earth. The Palmaris Longus. The Palmaris Longus is one of the strangest quirks in the human body because not everyone even has it. It's a thin tendon that runs along the inside of the wrist, connecting the forearm muscles to the hand, but it's missing entirely in about 10 to 15% of people worldwide. You can check if you have it by pressing your thumb and pinky together while flexing your wrist. The tendon, if present, pops up like a small ridge beneath the skin. The odd thing is that whether you have it or not makes no difference to your strength or dexterity. Surgeons often use the Palmaris longus tendon for grafts in reconstructive surgeries precisely because removing it doesn't affect grip function. So why does it exist? The best explanation lies in our evolutionary past. Early primates and tree-dwelling ancestors relied heavily on climbing and grasping, using forearms built for strong flexion and wrist control. The Palmaris longus would have added extra stability and pulling power during climbing or swinging through trees. As humans evolved toward fine motor skills and less arboreal lifestyles, the tendon's role diminished, and natural variation allowed some people to lose it completely without consequence. In other primates, especially lemurs and monkeys, the tendon is far more robust, hinting that it once had a vital function. The randomness of its presence in modern humans makes it a perfect example of evolutionary drift. When a feature neither helps nor harms survival, it can gradually fade away. There's also variation between populations. It's more common in some regions than others, suggesting genetic drift shaped its distribution rather than any environmental need. For evolutionary biologists, the Palmaris Longus is a living fossil of anatomy, a muscle that once contributed to climbing strength, but now hangs on as a harmless, inconsistent remnant of our past. The tailbone, or coccyx, is one of the clearest clues to our evolutionary history, a small triangle of fused vertebrae at the base of the spine that once supported a tail. All mammals share a common ancestor that had tails, and during early human development in the womb, embryos still grow a small one that later recedes, leaving only the coccyx behind. In our distant ancestors, the tail helped with balance, movement, and even communication. Monkeys and early primates used it for stability while climbing or to express emotion. As humans evolved to walk upright, the tail became less useful and gradually shrank over millions of years. What's strange is that the tailbone didn't disappear completely. Instead, it remains as a vestigial structure that still serves a few minor purposes. It anchors several important muscles and ligaments that support the pelvic floor, helping with posture and movement when sitting. It also helps stabilize the body when leaning back or shifting weight while seated. Occasionally, people are born with a small external tail, a rare condition called a caudal appendage, which doctors can remove surgically. These cases show that the genetic blueprint for a tail still lingers in our DNA, just mostly switched off. Injuries to the coccyx can be painful because, despite being small, it's tied to a web of muscles that flex and contract during movement. Evolutionarily, the coccyx is a fossil embedded in living tissue, a physical remnant of the moment when our species transitioned from tree-climbing ancestors to upright walkers. Its persistence also shows how evolution doesn't erase old designs perfectly. It repurposes or minimizes them. The tailbone no longer helps with balance or climbing, but it hasn't vanished entirely because removing it offers no advantage. Every time you sit down, that tiny relic presses against the chair beneath you, a quiet reminder that you once had a tail. Wisdom teeth are the third and final set of molars that usually emerge in a person's late teens or early 20s, and they're one of the clearest examples of evolution leaving behind an outdated feature. Early humans had larger jaws with plenty of space for 32 teeth, including these back molars, which were essential for grinding down tough plants, raw meat, and fibrous roots. Cooking, food processing, and the invention of tools drastically changed how we eat, reducing the need for such powerful chewing machinery. Over time, human jaws became smaller through evolutionary adaptation, but the genetic blueprint for a full set of teeth remained. As a result, modern humans often don't have enough room for wisdom teeth to grow properly, leading to impaction, infection, or crowding. Dentists now remove them routinely, turning what was once a functional advantage into a painful inconvenience. What makes wisdom teeth especially interesting is that not everyone has them. Some people are born missing 1, 2, or even all 4. This variation reflects evolution in progress. Populations that have been eating soft, cooked diets for tens of thousands of years show a higher rate of missing wisdom teeth, suggesting that the human genome is slowly phasing them out. Anthropologists studying ancient skulls can track this transition, noting that early Homo species almost always had larger jaws and fully erupted third molars, while modern humans have smaller faces and jaws that barely accommodate 28 teeth. There are even genetic variants identified that suppress wisdom tooth development altogether. While we no longer need them, their presence still provides a snapshot of how evolution balances old and new traits. Our DNA doesn't instantly discard features that stop being useful. It simply lets them fade over generations. The blind spot. Every human has a blind spot in each eye, a small area on the retina where no image is detected at all. This happens because of the way the optic nerve connects the eye to the brain. The retina, which lines the back of the eye, is filled with photoreceptor cells that capture light and send signals to the brain. But at one specific point, all those nerve fibers converge and pass through the retina to form the optic nerve, creating a small hole with no photoreceptors. The result is a blind spot in your field of vision, where your brain receives no visual information. You never notice it because your brain automatically fills in the missing details, using surrounding visual cues and information from your other eye. You can test it yourself by closing one eye and focusing on a specific dot or object. At the right distance, another object nearby will vanish as it falls into your blind spot. What's fascinating is that not every animal has this flaw. Octopuses and squids, for example, have eyes that evolved differently. Their optic nerves connect from behind the retina, meaning they have no blind spots at all. Human eyes, on the other hand, evolved from vertebrate ancestors that developed the optic nerve connection in front of the retina, locking in this structural quirk. The blind spot is a perfect example of how evolution often produces workable solutions rather than perfect designs. Despite the flaw, our brains are so good at compensating that we go our entire lives unaware of the gap. Advanced imaging technology has even shown how visual processing regions in the brain interpolate textures, colors, and shapes to patch over the missing space in real time. The next time you blink or shift your gaze, your brain is quietly stitching together dozens of tiny blind moments to create one seamless picture of the world. The blind spot is not a sign of failure, it's a reminder that the human body evolved to adapt, not to be perfect. Hiccups are one of the strangest and most pointless reflexes in the human body. They happen when the diaphragm, a dome-shaped muscle that controls breathing, suddenly contracts, forcing air into the lungs while the glottis, the flap of tissue above the vocal cords, snaps shut. That rapid closure creates the familiar hic sound. Everyone has experienced them, but few realize how ancient this reflex might be. The leading theory traces hiccups back to our distant aquatic ancestors. In fish and amphibians, similar muscle movements help pump water over their gills, allowing them to breathe. During early evolution, as vertebrates transitioned from water to land, that primitive breathing mechanism may have lingered in a modified form. The neural pathways that cause hiccups today are located deep in the brainstem, one of the oldest parts of the nervous system, further supporting the idea that hiccups are a leftover from before lungs evolved for air breathing. Infants hiccup frequently in the womb, sometimes hundreds of times per day, possibly as a way to help develop the neural circuits that control breathing after birth. In adults, however, hiccups serve no real purpose. They're usually triggered by irritation to the diaphragm or nerves that control it. Things like eating too fast, drinking carbonated beverages, sudden temperature changes, or even strong emotions. What makes hiccups so fascinating is how persistent and mysterious they are. The reflex involves a network of nerves stretching from the brainstem to the diaphragm and stomach, making it difficult to interrupt. There's no guaranteed cure of holding your breath, drinking water, or getting startled may disrupt the rhythm temporarily, but the underlying reflex remains the same. In rare medical cases, hiccups can last for days or even months, caused by nerve damage or brain injury, showing just how deeply wired the reflex is into our biology. The uvula. The uvula is the small, fleshy piece of tissue that dangles at the back of your throat, and while it looks insignificant, it's one of the most uniquely human anatomical features. Few animals have anything quite like it. Its exact function has puzzled scientists for centuries, but research now shows it's far from useless. The uvula plays multiple subtle roles in speech, swallowing, and lubrication of the throat. During swallowing, it moves with the soft palate to close off the nasal passages, preventing food or liquid from going up your nose. Its surface contains numerous salivary glands that continuously secrete mucus, keeping your throat moist, an important adaptation for complex vocal communication. That lubrication may be one reason why humans can produce long, uninterrupted streams of speech without drying out the throat. The uvula also plays a part in articulating certain sounds, especially guttural ones found in languages like French and Arabic, making it a small but essential player in human phonetics. Evolutionarily, its development seems tied to our species' advanced vocal abilities. Primates and other mammals have either a reduced version or none at all. What's fascinating is how it can also cause issues. When swollen from infection or dehydration, it can trigger gagging, snoring, or even obstructive sleep apnea. Surgeons sometimes remove it during procedures to reduce snoring, though that can lead to a dry throat or changes in speech resonance. Studies using imaging and muscle tracking have shown that the uvula acts like a soft tissue valve, moving with precision to control airflow between the nose and mouth during both breathing and speaking. Some researchers even suggest that the uvula evolved as part of a larger system for regulating temperature and humidity in the upper airway, helping humans adapt to varying climates while maintaining vocal clarity. The next time you look in the mirror and see that odd little piece of flesh swinging in your throat, remember, it's not just decoration. It's a specialized structure that fine-tunes your ability to speak, swallow, and breathe, something that quietly separates humans from nearly every other species on Earth. Dreams. Dreams are one of the most mysterious functions of the human brain, a nightly phenomenon where consciousness flickers but the mind remains active, building strange, vivid worlds that feel real even as they defy logic. Everyone dreams, though most people forget nearly all of them within minutes of waking. The current understanding of dreams comes from decades of neuroscience research showing that they occur mainly during REM sleep, when brain activity becomes almost as intense as when we're awake. During this phase, the visual and emotional centers of the brain light up, while areas responsible for reasoning and self-control quiet down, which explains why dream logic can be bizarre and unrestrained. Scientists believe that dreams serve multiple purposes, not just one. One theory suggests they help process and store emotional memories, letting the brain replay difficult experiences in a safe, simulated space. Another idea, called the threat simulation hypothesis, proposes that dreams evolved as mental rehearsals for survival, allowing early humans to practice responding to danger. There's also growing evidence that dreaming supports creativity and problem-solving because the brain combines unrelated memories in novel ways. Famous examples include Paul McCartney hearing the melody for Yesterday in a dream, and chemist Auguste Kekulé envisioning the ring structure of benzene after dreaming of a snake biting its tail. At the neurological level, dreams seem to arise from the brainstem activating sensory areas while the prefrontal cortex stays mostly offline. This combination creates vivid imagery with little logical oversight. Lucid dreaming, where a person becomes aware they're dreaming and can sometimes control the experience, shows that part of the brain can regain awareness during REM without waking up fully. Despite centuries of fascination, no single theory explains dreams completely, but modern imaging and sleep studies show they're far from meaningless. Yawning. Yawning is one of the most contagious and least understood reflexes in the human body. Everyone does it, from infants to the elderly, and even animals from dogs to reptiles show the same wide mouth stretch followed by a deep inhale. For years, scientists assumed yawning was about oxygen, a way to bring more air into the lungs when we're tired or bored, but that explanation doesn't hold up under research. People don't actually get more oxygen from yawning, and the reflex happens in situations unrelated to breathing needs. The leading theory today is that yawning helps cool the brain. When you yawn, you take in a large gulp of air, stretch the jaw, and increase blood flow to the head. The cooler air helps lower brain temperature slightly, restoring alertness and maintaining optimal function. This may explain why we yawn when we're tired, since body temperature tends to rise before sleep and drop during wakefulness. Yawning might also help synchronize alertness levels in social groups, a behavior called contagious yawning. Seeing or hearing someone yawn often triggers the same reflex in others, especially among close friends or family members. Studies show that contagious yawning is linked to empathy. The more empathetic a person is, the more likely they are to catch a yawn. It's also been observed in primates and other social animals, suggesting it evolved as a form of nonverbal communication to signal changes in group alertness or rest cycles. Another idea proposes that yawning stretches the muscles in the face and neck, improving blood flow and keeping sensory systems sharp during transitions between rest and wakefulness. Even fetuses yawn in the womb, possibly to help develop jaw muscles and regulate pressure in the ears. Despite all this research, yawning remains partly mysterious. A reflex so ordinary we barely notice it, but so deeply wired that no one can truly resist it. Fingernails are such an ordinary part of the body that most people never stop to wonder why we have them at all. They're made of keratin, the same tough protein that forms hair and the outer layer of skin, and they grow from a living base called the nail matrix, which lies hidden under the cuticle. Nails evolved from the claws of our primate ancestors, gradually flattening and thinning as early humans began using their hands for precise tasks, rather than climbing or digging. The change from curved claws to flat nails allowed for better grip, finer manipulation, and improved tactile sensitivity, all of which became essential as humans developed tool use. The skin beneath the nail, called the nail bed, is densely packed with nerve endings, and the rigid nail plate helps provide counterpressure, making our fingertips more sensitive. That's why even a small injury near the nail can feel unusually painful. The speed of nail growth offers clues to health and metabolism. Fingernails grow about 3 millimeters per month, faster than toenails, and can reflect nutritional deficiencies, stress, or disease through color or texture changes. In medicine, nails are used as diagnostic windows. White spots may signal trauma or mild zinc deficiency. Spoon-shaped nails can hint at iron deficiency anemia. And yellow or clubbed nails sometimes indicate respiratory or heart problems. Beyond function, nails play a subtle role in social behavior and self-expression, serving as natural tools for grooming, protection, and communication behaviors observed even in other primates. Our tendency to trim, polish, and decorate them may trace back to ancient instincts of display and hygiene. Under a microscope, the layered structure of keratin and nails reveals how evolution repurposed the same material for both protection and sensation. Though small, fingernails show how evolution prioritizes versatility. What once anchored claws for survival in the wild now enables precision work, from writing to playing instruments to delicate surgery. The belly button. The belly button, or navel, is a small scar that forms after the umbilical cord detaches shortly after birth, marking the site where a human embryo was once connected to the placenta. During development, the umbilical cord acts as a vital conduit between the fetus and the mother, carrying oxygen and nutrients through the umbilical vein while removing carbon dioxide and waste through 2 umbilical arteries. This exchange occurs in the placenta, an organ that evolved in mammals to sustain embryos internally rather than through egg-laying. When the cord is cut at birth, the remaining tissue dries, contracts, and eventually falls away, leaving the navel as a permanent mark of this biological process. The specific shape of the belly button, whether it appears as an innie or outie, is determined by how the tissue heals and how much scar contraction occurs in the skin. Though it serves no function after birth, the belly button area continues to play a role in medical anatomy. Surgeons often use the navel as a natural entry point for laparoscopic procedures because it provides direct access to the abdominal cavity while minimizing visible scarring. From a biological perspective, the navel is also a unique habitat for microorganisms. Studies like the Belly Button Biodiversity Project have shown that the average navel hosts more than 60 different species of bacteria, including members of the genera Staphylococcus, Corynebacterium, and Micrococcus. Some samples contained extremophil species usually found in ocean water or soil, showing that the skin microbiome can preserve rare and unexpected organisms. This microbial community is part of the broader human microbiota that influences skin health, immunity, and pH balance. In rare cases, remnants of embryonic structures such as the uricus or vitelline duct can persist near the navel, forming cysts or fistulas that reveal the body's developmental history. The belly button may appear simple, but it reflects one of the most important evolutionary transitions in mammals: the development of a placenta and umbilical connection that made live birth possible. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you would like to see more videos like this one. Thanks again. Goodbye.